right, so we're live, and do you want to tell us your name and a little bit about how you're affiliated with the film festival here, the Equus Film Festival?
Sure enough. My name is Kolaja, and I have two films in the festival. The Equus, I still am a little foggy on that. Equus. Interest is the Wild Ponies of Chincoteague, and then there's another one on tomorrow, Saturday, noon, called Charlie Obert's Barn.
Okay.
Different films altogether.
Awesome. Well, before I ask you about those films, I kind of wanted to know a little bit about how you got into the film industry and kind of a little bit about how you came to make these two films that you have that are centered around horses.
Well, I was lucky enough to get into a television station in Erie, WICU, a million years ago. I graduated from high school, barely snuck out, and got into, I was vacation relief and kind of begged my way in and made every mistake a human being could make. And when I'd run out of those, I'd make up some other ones that maybe some other animal would make, and made those mistakes. And yet didn't get booted out completely, and learned from those guys in that television station, the old guard journalists, what journalism is, and started shooting news for them, and then just kind of kept on going. I went from market to market to market, and by the time I got to DC, I thought, okay, let's see what life outside of that, can somebody go freelance and do this sort of work outside of that. So that's how I got into it.
Sure.
The films, oh boy, I don't know how long you want to go, but the pony film started with a project that was unrelated to it. A colleague of mine named Todd Mesro and I shot a bit of the Wild Ponies of Chincoteague for another project. That project fell through. He bought the rights to the negative stock. We shot some 35 millimeter stuff. And so we had that. We had a few cans of exposed film, but we had no story. We had no story to follow. We just had pretty stuff. And once we found a young lady who was going to actually go through the auction, which is how they keep the pony herd in check, okay, now we got a story, and we followed that one along. Now the barn, that's a different issue altogether. On my mom's side of the family, out near Spartansburg, the family farm was in the 7th generation, I believe it was. And my uncle sold it, moved to Texas. The people who bought it for nursery, bought the acreage. They couldn't care about a dairy farm. They bought the acreage, the open fields for nursery stock to grow Christmas trees and nursery plants like of that ilk. Berkeys, I'm sure folks around here would know of them. They could care less for an old dairy barn. It got to the point where it was going to get bulldozed and burned. Oh, geez, boo-hoo, can I have it? Well, yeah, get it out of here before it kills our kids, because it's leaning. So we disassembled that with the help of a great guy named Gary Coburn, who lives just outside of town, and disassembled it, post and beam, drove it, and moved it down to Maryland, and we live in it now. So that's how that one went. And I've once again made many mistakes in learning what that. I thought that wouldn't be that hard. It was.
Yes, we never really stopped making mistakes. Like we're always learning and improving, right?
So long as we improve and learn, and yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are the films.
So have you entered works into the Equus Film Festival before this year?
No, this is my first run at it, and in fact, it came as a surprise to me that there was a film festival geared toward horse films. I'd never heard of it. But a gentleman in Maryland said, "Oh, you ought to," and so we did, and here we are. And it's been great. It's been a great experience.
So, are you just at the stop here at Meadville, or do you tour with because they go to New York and LA? So
I went to New York.
Okay.
Because I live in Maryland. Went to New York, came here because, well, this is, home, and I probably won't go out to Los Angeles, where they're going, I believe, maybe next. But my colleague, Todd, the guy who bought the film stock, he's out there, so he can handle that one. Canada would be fun. I don't know if I'll get there. Who knows where I can go with them. So no, have I gone with every one of them? I have not.
Have you done works outside of films that you've just made, the Ponies at Chinkatink, or could you tell me a little bit about those other films and other subjects you've explored?
I did a doc on Division III athletics, which was I followed a basketball team through Division III, and then another film I did was on a community marching band, which was a collection of true blue Dickens characters, and these, the what's the drum major, the guy he's the clerk of court in this small town. The banner ladies that carry the banner in front of the band are cleaning ladies. There was a nurse. There were a guy who sells tires. It's just every walk and talk and occupation you could come up with. And these people just put in their time and they go around with their community marching band and go to these small towns. It's just crazy. It was really fun.
Wow. So yeah, you've gotten to explore a little bit through.
Oh yeah, well it's all about exploration. That's all I'm doing. I'm just there are these stories. The pantry is lined with stories. I'm just the butler who goes in and picks one off the shelf every now and then.
So through talking with some other filmmakers, we've kind of like a lot of conversation has been centered around kind of horses and how they act in relation to people and how they're very social creatures. Have you learned, like, could you tell me what you've learned about horses or your personal experiences with horses, either before you made these films or while you made them?
Well, I'm not a horse guy, so my, although we had a horse on the farm back in Spartansburg, I mean, you can't say that I grew up around horses. A little more cattle, but not even that so much. So my experience with horses would be the most intimate, what I learned from hanging with Sabrina more than anybody, who's kind of the star of the Wild Ponies of Chincoteague. And while this is maybe conjecture on my part, it seems that there is a connection between human and horse that is not gossamer thin. There's something reasonably deep there. Now, there's a horse farm down the lane where we live, a thoroughbred farm, and it's a broodmare farm, and I try to befriend these animals that'll come up to the fence thinking, oh, that one finally recognizes me. Nope. I think you really have to be immersed, not unlike any other pet or animal or human for that matter, to really grasp it. So I think I'd be out of my bailiwick to say that I understand horses or the connection they have with probably individuals. I don't know if they would get on with all 5 or 10 people in the room. My sense is they might not. They get on with you. Might get on with me if I knew who that was or they knew who we were. But there's a deeper connection there than I thought going in, that I really didn't understand going in.
And that's part of the exploration, right? I mean, you figure those things out.
Absolutely. I'd rather know little about a topic or, well, something, but I'm not going to research anything to the point where it becomes old to me or too much. I want to hear it from the person who's, you've got the camera pointed. I'd like to hear it from me. I'd like to hear it from you. I'd like to hear it from her. I want to learn from the people whose boots are on the ground, who have really the knowledge and the interest in the topic, be it the band members or the D3 basketball players or the horse people or the guy who knows how to construct a barn. I want to hear it from them as opposed to study what others have studied.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I kind of have even come into this situation. Like I read up a little bit about them, but I didn't want to like overdo it.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Because I want you to tell me. So, yeah, I think I completely get that, and I think that's a great way to go about it.
I'm working on a film now. Started another one. Yet I'm that foolish. Have you ever heard of Scrapple?
No.
You've heard of Spam.
Yeah.
Scrapple would like to grow up to be Spam. So it's this kind of breakfast meat thing that has, boy, it's got some stuff to learn about it. But you know, I don't want to learn too much about it. I want to learn from the people who make this product
Yeah.
to see what it's about. It's just, oh man, it is great. It should be. Now, where I live on the Delmarva Peninsula, Philadelphia, Lancaster, Baltimore, Scrapple. Oh yeah, man, them's fighting words. But you know, once you get up here, Scrapple, never heard of it. Here, growing up, I'd never heard of it. But it's just this iconic regional food that I want to learn about from the people who either eat it or make it, or both. I'll send you a block of it. It comes in these gray bricks.
So it's a project you're about to start.
Oh, I'm in it now.
Oh, okay.
I'm shooting now. It's boy, it's interesting.
Wow. Very interesting.
They don't.
Sounds very interesting.
Scrapple does not put on airs. It puts on no makeup. It's not pink. It doesn't pretend to be meat. It's gray. It's the working title. Scrapple, one shade of gray. We'll see if I stick with that.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you want to say before we stop?
Well, I'm not exactly sure who your audience is, but I would encourage them to attend this and every film festival that they can. They're going to say things that they're just not going to get a crack at otherwise. And beyond that, you know, get out of the chair. Put a little effort in. There are people who out there that have made these films that are not going to get major release. And there are people who've written the score for these things. There are people who've edited these things. Throw them a bone. Go sit in a theater. Don't wait for it to come on Netflix. Go cheer these people on a little bit. It'd make them, you know, it'd do a little something for them. And by God, the viewer would learn something too. Because you'd be in an audience. You'd be immersed in a dark room with a lot of people, or maybe 10 people, which is often not too out of the question for a film festival. But I would encourage folks to get up and go to a film festival. Everybody's supposed to go. It's, you know, folks sometimes don't understand even what a film festival is. Yes, you're invited. Yes, you buy a ticket like any other theater. But go. Put on the shoes, get off the sofa, and go to a film festival. Hopefully this one.
Support the local
Yeah.
population.
And you know, that's another thing. From what I've seen, Meadville has really come out to celebrate this thing. And it's odd. It's unique. I mean, odd is not the right word. It's unique that the town has gotten behind something like this. So get behind it, folks.